Hi, in today's video I will talk about the thing which is common for all of the alarm systems, all of the fire alarm systems, because that's the thing what we're talking about here, which is battery. I know how simple that might be, that might sound for you, but let me tell you how important that is for you to know a little bit about it. Since the fire alarm it's a live system, the backup power is very important for this, because in case of emergency, in case of a power cut, your system needs to stay at least 24 hours on standby and at least 30 minutes in alarm condition on the backup power, and that's the legal requirement. So your duty as an engineer, as a person who potentially maintaining this, who potentially is installing the system, is know how to choose the right size of the batteries. You need to know the basic parameters of the batteries and what they can offer, and when to replace them, and stuff like that. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So every fire alarm system, at least the one I know, I never came across any other one. So let's say every fire alarm system is using 24 volts DC power, and that will be a requirement for the backup power. Now, every single battery, here is the example battery. You have two parameters here, all right, which is voltage and amps. Okay. This is typical 12 volt 7 amp battery. This is probably one of the most often used in the fire alarm systems. So the two parameters, now voltage 12 volts, as I said before, and amps. All right, as the voltage will usually be 12, because that's the industry standard. You might find a different voltage battery, but generally we are using 12 volt batteries. You will have to connect them in series to retrieve voltage which is required to power up your system. All right, how to do that is very simple. Let me draw this thing. So you have the pause and neg and neg, and this is your battery 1, battery 2, right? They are, let's say, 12 volts 7 amps each. 12 volts 7 amps each. Okay, so you have those two batteries, and as I said earlier, you need 24 volts DC power to power up your system, to keep your system alive when the mains fail, when something happens. This system needs to stay alive because it's taking care directly about people's life. That's why you need to do it right. To get 24 hours from those batteries on your outputs, you need to you take a short lead, which is usually provided in a fire alarm panel, and connect minus to plus. Okay, you need to connect those two batteries, yeah, minus to plus, right, because we are joining them in series to retrieve more voltage. Okay, and then pause is going to the panel, neg is going to the panel, and that's it. It is simple as that. All right, now be careful, because I saw very experienced engineer, including myself, engineers, joining this the other way around, and luckily I never had an accident with this, and I did not damage any systems. But be careful, because this is very simple, and it might be tricky. When something is simple and it becomes a routine, it is more likely that you will get it wrong. Now, this is the parameter which is very important for for the fire alarm system, because this is telling you how big battery is. And now you need to do your calculation, and you need to do your maths to figure it out what size of the batteries your system will require. Now, to find out what batteries your system will need, you need to know two parameters, which is first is quiescent load, right? Quiescent load, and the second parameter is alarm load. Okay, so you need to know quiescent load and alarm load to figure out what size of batteries your system will require. Now, your system needs to stay, as I said earlier, 24 hours on standby. And in case of the alarm, during the mains failure, it needs to stay in alarm condition for half an hour, 30 minutes. Okay, so 30. Okay. Now you need to know how to measure the quiescent load. To measure the quiescent load, you will need multimeter, and you will need to know how to use the multimeter. But this is the subject or on another video. Now, considering that you know how to use your multimeter, you need to measure the quiescent load. You need to set up your multimeters on amps. You need to disconnect your battery, one side of the battery. Let's take minus. Okay, so you need to disconnect this. Okay, now you need to, once your meter is on and is set up on amps, you're connecting one side of the meter to the panel here, and the other side of the meter here. Okay, and here is your multimeter. Okay, yeah. And now you need to disconnect the mains power from the system, and that way you're gonna be able to measure amps going through this line here. Okay, but be careful, because during this process, if one of your let's call it meter probes will slip, or basically you will break the continuity, you will power down your system. So you need to be careful. It might be handy to have certain type of multimeter, or you might want to have someone to help you. And now, once you disconnect the mains, you're gonna be able to you will be able to measure your quiescent load. Okay, so let's say your quiescent load is 0.7 amp. Okay, the second measurement which you're gonna have to do is alarm load. So you're doing everything exactly the same way. You are connecting your meter through one of the sides of your battery's lead, but this time, obviously the mains are still disconnected, but this time you will have to raise the alarm. All right, you will have to have your sounders on or bells on. Everything needs to be ringing like during the normal fire alarm condition, and you need to read your measurements. It will be typically like, I don't know, usually it's like twice bigger or 1.5 bigger. So let's say in this case is 1.2 amps. Okay, now once you have those two measurements, what you want to do is grab your smartphone, Google something like fire alarm, batteries, calculator. There is plenty of them online. You need to provide those two parameters, and this online running app will tell you exactly what size of batteries you will need for your fire alarm systems. And now some of the fire alarms are not some of the fire alarm enclosures are not big enough to take big batteries. In case you have the really big system, it might not be able to take a big batteries. In this case, you will have to install separate battery box, which is going to be holding just the batteries. As an extra, probably more experienced people will know this, and this is very easy and obvious for them. But I'm talking for the beginners. So anyway, as an extra, I will tell you that if you would connect your batteries in parallel, you will increase your capacity, but voltage will stay the same. So in this case, while we need bigger voltage and we're gonna leave the capacity as it is, we are connecting them in series. It is a bad habit to connect two different size batteries. It is not professional. We're not doing this, and it's wrong. You might be able in emergency case, but in the long term you might damage something, and that will not be working properly as it's supposed to be. Right? So this is something what you are not going to do, and this is your entire knowledge about the batteries which we are using for fire alarm system. Now, in case of maintenance, the way of testing them, it will be 24-hour discharge test, but no one have 24-hour to test set of the batteries and proper tool to perform this kind of test. That's why people using something what's called a quick discharge tester, but from the experience I found this device not being accurate. So my personal opinion is that you might want to replace your batteries every 4-5 years, because that's what manufacturers usually recommending to do. Some of the people I saw them doing the measurement of this quick discharge tester, but this is not something what I would personally recommend it to you. So basically, on every battery, on the top of the battery, you will see this number here. Okay. Now, first 2 digits usually is a year, another 2 is a month, and next 2 is a day of manufacture. Okay. Now this battery can stay on the system for 4 or 5 years. All right. So some of the people considering this as the age of the battery. Some of the people labeling the battery during the installation, and they are taking the installation date as the age of the battery. All right. There is those two schools. I like to use this date to make sure that this battery will handle the pressure in case it needs, because this is what's called life system, which means that it's directly taking care of people's lives. So you want to make sure that you're doing this right, and you want to choose the right size of the batteries for your fire alarm systems, and you want to maintain them right, and you want to make sure that you have a good set of the batteries up on a date, and they will provide the necessary power in case of the mains failure. Now, for the maintenance engineers, the question load measuring, is also something what you are doing during the maintenance visit. So you will have to measure it the way I explain it here, and provide this measurement in a paperwork to make sure that the system have still enough big enough batteries to run it in case that would be required. There is a certain type of the multimeter which might make this job way easier. So this is the type which I'm talking about, and you will not have to disconnect the batteries, which might prevent some issues during the disconnecting them. In case this is like a really big system and really advanced site, powering down the whole thing might cause troubles, like you might have to wait a while to reboot the entire thing, or in the worst case scenario you might lost your configuration, which is also something what might happen. Now this is very good reason to do this measurement every single during every single maintenance visit, because typically every fire alarm system over the years have some point added to it, or at some point some of the points are taken out. So it might happen that there is more devices and they are drawing more current, more power from your system. So you need to do this right, you need to do this measurement, you need to make it right. When you are installing the new one, usually it is a job for a designer to actually do it right, to measure the quiescent load and alarm load, to predict it, all right, because you can basically do some simulations in the software, etc. But I still think that you need to know how to do it, and I mean, even during the commissioning you need to do it anyway. So this is something what you need to know. Okay, and that's it for today's video. I would like to thank you very much for watching, and if you think that there is something very important which I didn't mention here, I would like to see this down below, and I would be happy for any feedback and any kind of discussion, because what I'm trying to do here is just to show the people how to do this job right, and how to become a good engineer, and provide the best quality knowledge as I possibly can. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.